Hey everybody, this is your friend, music artist, rapper, hip hop artist, gospel singer, country and western singer, ballad, love songs, and a little bit of rock and roll. Stone Thug, music artist Stone Thug. Also, comedian Stone Thug, but world traveler and philosopher Stone Thug. And today, I thought we'd take on a very interesting subject matter. I've entitled this The Things I Liked About Adolf Hitler, or The Good Things About Hitler. Now, of course, the title itself is so over the top and outrageous that many people would scoff at the fact that there's anything to like about Adolf Hitler. But I was inspired by a politician question a long time ago. And sometimes when you watch these debates, they will ask these rivals, these competitors, say something good about your competitor, your rival, the person you're running against. And they have to clamp down and swallow their pride and think intellectually, not emotionally. So they have to say something good about the person they're running against. And I thought, that's such an interesting experiment of thought. I wonder if we can do it with villains of history. Can you say something good about villains? Like if I think of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, I can say, well, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, well, he was a great actor. He had to pretend to be good to hide his other side. If you think of Bonnie and Clyde, we had to say something good. You could say, well, they were a strongly united couple who believed in sticking together like the marriage vows in spite of. You see how this game is played? If you had to say something about Count Dracula, even though he was a made up character, you could say, well, he looked good for his age. So basically, if you try this mental experiment, you can really get into a very different part of your brain, which scientists, neuroscientists, specialists say that's actually a good thing. To think up out of the box, out of the ordinary ways of thinking. And as a comedian, I'm forced to do that all the time because we have to think of something in a twisted way in order to make it interesting or funny because people are sort of pre-prepared for the norm. So when you look at villains in society, you actually can think of some things you like or some things that were interesting or some things that were actually beneficial. For instance, when you think of Al Capone, the great Chicago gangster of the 30s, 20s, did you know that he was responsible for having faces put on milk cartons? That's right. He, not the faces themselves, but the actual dates where you have this milk was made on this date and this was made on that date. He is responsible for that. He did that. He commissioned that because he was a powerful man, a very wealthy man. He was able to use his contacts and to make sure that all milk to this day that affects all of us has the dates put on because of him. He had a cousin or some family member who passed away because of bad milk. And as a result, he did that. That's right. And also, Al Capone started the soup lines. When you see all the pictures of soup lines people getting or receiving some food or nourishment during the Great Depression, that was Al Capone who funded those. And Al Capone also did a lot of things for black folks too, like a lot of our famous entertainers and singers who sung uptown, downtown Chicago. He provided them with an armored car, and he funded uh, their traveling back and forth because the people, the good citizens of that time, wouldn't allow black performers to perform in certain places or go on stage. So Al Capone did that as well. So you see, Al Capone was a bad guy, but he did some good things. And that was my point. So Adolf Hitler, an interesting character, no doubt, uh, known worldwide, internationally as a villain. He actually did some positive things as well. Of course, this is a stretch of the imagination of those who have an open mind. Of course, if you don't, then I understand. You can only see him one way. And what the world wants you to see Adolf Hitler only one way. Matter of fact, they only showed him in black and white films for a long time. They would never show him petting or making contact with animals because they thought that would generate positive feelings about um, Adolf Hitler. But Adolf Hitler actually was an advocate for animals. He put up the first uh, anti using chemicals, different drugs and stuff on animals. Um, he was one of the first people who did that. And he also started the anti-smoking campaigns that you see today. Uh, he was one of the first ones who was advocate against smoking. And of course, Adolf Hitler was a vegetarian as well. Now, he couldn't have done too much about drugs because he took over 100 different kinds of drugs in his lifetime anyway. But this is concentrating on the positives, not the negatives. Not Al Capone, but should I say Adolf Hitler brought us the blow up doll. That's right. He's credited for that as well as credited for bringing the first freeways. That's right. The first freeways that we drive on, the Autobahn, Al Capone. Man, I am stuck on Al Capone. Anyway, Adolf Hitler is responsible for that as well. Not to mention numerous advancements in airplane, aeronautics, things of that nature. They say Alexander the Great was great, but was he really? Wasn't he as responsible for as many deaths as Al Capone and Adolf Hitler? So was Alexander the Great truly great? He was a conqueror. He was a barbarian by many countries' standards because he invaded countries and killed mercifully. So, it's interesting to look at people and see both sides. There's not a both sides, as our good president says it, when it comes to bad guys and good guys coming against each other. There's good and there's bad. But even in the worst of people, there's oftentimes something interesting about them. This has been your boy StoneThug. Thanks for listening. Hey everybody.